Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant. Today we are going to discuss the topic of gambits as we have started lately, how to decode a gambit, how to judge whether the gambit is sound or unsound. So I have got 3 examples today. We will try to cover all of them and let's get to the lesson quickly. So let's start with an interesting gambit in the Petroff defense. After e4, e5, nf3, nf6 we have the Petroff defense here. And white tries the move bishop c4. The main moves are ne5 and d4. This happens to be a very interesting move. White offers the pawn on e4 and after knight takes e4, even he goes with the move knight c3. Very important move for the gambit. See, because we are trading a piece as soon as we have become pawn down. The concept is to trade the only active black piece in the position, and after the exchange the d pawn takes, opening the bishop and queen. So here we see that against the pawn what we have got, see we have 2 developments, queen and bishop both opened, they can be counted as half of each, and we see that we have roughly 3 developments to black's half here. The center pawn is only there which can be counted as half. So it looks like a decent compensation on the onset itself. But what are the consequences for black? See, in any gambit what happens? Opponents play, the natural moves are not easy to make. So that is what happens here. See, let's say if black goes with some move like bishop c5, there would be the instant c, bf7, king f7, queen d5 check, winning the bishop and black's castle is broken. Similarly, much worse is nc6, when after we can see ng5, there has to be d5, bd5, then again black has to do be6 to protect f7, and one more pawn would be lost. So white would end up becoming a pawn up. It means the natural moves are not helping. Today I am going to show you what is the main line and what happened in one of the games. The main game of our discussion is the move d6 which black played in this game. Looks like a decent move, right? Black wants to do be7 castle and make his king safe. But instantly there is a tactic here. White goes knight takes e5. With extra development, white doesn't miss out on this tactical chance. If see, d takes c5 outright blunder, bishop f7. The open queen position assures some tactical chance here. After ke7, bg5, kf7, then queen takes d8 and white is just winning. So black here goes with queen e7, pinning the knight. So white first plays bf7 check, kd8 and see castle. Very strong move, just ignoring the threat of queen takes e5. D is not possible, and after queen e5, white in fact concludes the game by force rook e1, queen f6, and we can see a forced mate happening here. After re8, kd7, qg4, kc6, white has to just find this move, the strong move. bd5 decides the game in white's favor. See, kb6 would lose to qb4 followed by bc4. So king takes d5, queen e4 check, kc5, be3, kb5, a4 check. It's game over. King a6, then queen c4, ka5, qb5 mates. And if king a5 would have been played here, then also qb4 followed by qb5 mates. So we looked at most natural moves which are not at all good for black. Thus the only correct move in this position happens to be the move f6. But then see, he is setting one small trap first of all. See, knight takes e5 is blunder here, because after see, knight e5, fe5, qh5 check, g6, queen e5, queen e7, and see, the queen on e5 is pinned and it is white who will end up losing the game. So here white can play nh4, threatening queen h5 check. So black has to play g6, and after g6 white plays f4, another good move. The threat is f5 here, very strong threat, because even if d6, then also see f5, gf cannot be taken because of queen h5, bishop f5 cannot be taken because of knight f5, gf5, queen h5, which would be winning for white. And this position seems to be very good. Black can try qe7 and all, to which again white would play f5. So this position gives white a strong initiative. So we can see that the compensation is very much there in the position. In some other lesson, we will go into the details of this line also. In fact, I have made video on this. the Petroff defense line. You can check there. It's called the Boden Kieseritzky Gambit. You can check in my lessons of openings for white. Let's have a look at the next gambit. Next we are going to look at a very interesting line of the Nimzo Indian defense, where in the classical line white tries to get some positional pressure. Let's see what is it all about. After the moves d4, nf6, c4, e6, we have the move nc3, bb4. This becomes the Nimzo Indian, starting point of Nimzo Indian defense, introduced by Aaron Nimzovich. Idea is to take on c3, create double pawns on c4 and c3, and then see black goes c5, nc6, b6, ba6, rook c8, and with all might he tries to attack the pawn on c4. So for which he is ready to surrender one of the bishops. White on the other hand looks to create a kingside attack using the center pawns and two bishops. So the play becomes very sharp and imbalanced. So many white players here try to play the move queen c2, which happens to be one of the main lines. Point is simple. After bishop c3, white wants to take with the queen. He just has the bishop pair in the open position. That is what he is looking at. And here I am going to show you a very interesting gambit for black. Black goes castle. White plays a3 for the bishop. And after bishop c3, queen c3. Generally see here there are two types of line. One, the solid positional b6, bb7. Then black can go ne4 later on. That's a solid positional line which can be played, and the other sharp line b5. Let's look at the position with b5, c takes b5. Since we are trying to understand how the gambit would fare, whether there is enough compensation or not. Let's take all the factors into account. Development wise, we see that we have 2 against white's 1, and see white queen also looks well placed, right? But white is not yet developed and his king is in the center. So black can quickly go with the move c6 and use his remaining development. If that happens quickly, then he will use the b and c5s for his rooks to harass the white queen. See, this position becomes very critical. After the moves bc6, nc6, now see bishop is going to come to a6, queen on b6, rook c8, rook b8. Already the black position looks very good. Let's see some lines here. If nf3 is played, then just ba6, and now after e3, bf1, kf1, white's castle is broken and black simply builds up. See, qb6, and if b4 trying to stop na5, then just a5, and you can easily make out this position is not that good for white anymore. See, b4 is under fire, rook coming to c8, knight going to e4. Black is already somewhat better. Of course, many would argue that white won't play nf3. He has the move e3 over here, which stops ba6. Well, after the move e3, black goes qb6 first. Now nf3, ba6, similar idea. And this time bishop takes, queen takes. The queen manages to stop white's castling. Here too we can see that, see, development wise, black has 2 developments. White's bishop is not well placed, still white has some time to castle. So black will organize his rooks. So after bd2, rook c8, queen b3, because the threat was ne5 followed by nd3 check. So rook b8, queen a2, and we can see the very strong ne4 here. Queen is eyeing the d3 square, and even in some cases knight a5 followed by knight b3 can be there. So we can easily make out this position also is very good compensation for black. In fact, I had a game once against a rated player and I won in almost 19 moves. So now let's look at the third gambit. The third gambit which I am showing you is very relevant from the point of view of our openings. We have learned the Budapest gambit as black, and it must be noted that the Budapest gambit cannot be forced. Here if white plays the move nf3, then the move e5 is stopped permanently and there won't be any Budapest gambit. So black needs to have other options open to get a sharp position. So black can try the move c5, and this introduces us to another gambit play. If white plays c4, we have the Vaghanian Gambit, which is our point of discussion today. And suppose here d5 is played, then after e6, c4, b5, this is so called the Blumenfeld Gambit. So this is another interesting gambit which we will discuss in some other lesson. So after the move c4 here, black goes c takes d4, knight takes d4 and c e5, weakening the d6 square temporarily, and after nb5, see white wants nd6 check, so black plays d5. And one would wonder why is this a gambit, because after c takes d4 we cannot recover the pawn with nd5 because qd5 and c7 check and the piece is lost. So black has to play another move here. So black can play bishop c5, just giving up the pawn. And what is his compensation all about? Let's try to understand. Development wise, here we see we have just one development, but see the white knights, both knights are struggling for the square c3, and here n5 c3 happens to be the better move. Today I will try to show you if d6 is played, see it looks very dangerous, and c7 is coming, and the move knight 1 c3, we are going to discuss these today. Let us see how the play generates. After the move d6, there is just castle allowing c and c7, but here see black's development is really much more, and he uses tactic here, knight e4 threatening mate on f2, so e3 forced, bb4 check, nd2 almost forced, bd2 is met by nd2, now comes qd6, and after na8 c rook d8, and it is black who is going to win a piece back on d2, and his position is also winning. There are threats of nd2, bd2 check, and maybe other way around as well. So after a3 we can have see both bd2, nd2 very strong, threatening e4 followed by nf3, or even other way around, nd2, a takes b4, and then see moving the knight. That option is also there to f3, when after queen f3 qb4 check looks very dangerous for white. So here see bd2, nd2 is really much better. So finally let's have a look at the move knight 1 c3, to which black often plays a6 first. We can do a6 first over here, send the knight back to a3, then do castle, or maybe other way around, castle first like here. White can play e3 or g3, bg5 is of course blunder, bf2 followed by ng4 and the g5 bishop hangs. So after c e3 we do a6, push the knight back, and now see use b5. The bishop has square on b7. We will soon see that white won't be able to hold this pawn on d5. See nc2 forced, b4, again pushing the knight back, knight a4 attacks the bishop, b7, and now see it's very clear that after bc4, bb7 there is no good way to protect d5, and black will be already slightly better over here. Let's go back to the other line, which is g3. Here white can try the move g3, and now see still a6, knight a3, qb6 this time, forcing white to do the move e3, and after e3 we see we have forced e3 and g3 both. So f3, d3, h3, these squares can become weak with the move e4. Strong move. White will try to pressurize e4 no doubt, but once black holds this e4 pawn, the squares d3 and f3 can fall in his hand. So see nc4 first, driving the queen away, bg2 attacks e4, black protects the strong point e4, and after castle he can play b5, first push the knight back, bf5, and see the black's plan here. Knight is heading to d7, bishop can move to d6, and see this knight can go from c5 to d3. In some cases this knight can go to e5, and we can use bg4 so that the f3 square falls in black's control. So this position you can say is superb. This opening is played by Garry Kasparov himself. So from that we can understand the potential of that opening when a very strong world champion uses such an opening. So this way we are going to cover various gambits. This will give us basic idea of gambits and how to judge or evaluate the compensation of a gambit. I hope you are finding these lessons useful. Do let me know in the comments below. Thanks for your time.